Which class is this? Okay. My name is James Eyring. I'm the Assistant Director of the Environmental Center, and I've worked right here in this spot for the last almost 35 years. This is the last nature walk I'm going to be doing on the nature trail because in a couple of months this will all be different. And it's kind of melancholy. Just behind us, you didn't see it, but off the roof of the library, landing on the top of the pine tree right now, is a great blue heron. And I just read something Stephen King wrote. He said that great blue herons are sort of like those Protestant ministers waiting for a witch at a witch trial. They look like that when they're walking around a pond, and I kind of like that because they do have that skulking way of walking around in an all haughty, know-all way. The farmhouse that, and that's kind of what I do for a living. That you know, you see something, you might as well take advantage of it. A great blue heron is kind of a neat bird. It stands almost 4 feet tall. Wingspan is about 5 feet, and they're kind of neat, especially to see them landing in the top of a tree like that. You wouldn't believe a bird with those gangly legs could perch in a tree. I know where there's a rookery nearby where there's about 60 nests of them in the tops of these very dead ash trees, and it looks like a Dr. Seuss drawing, these tall skinny trees with all of these sticks sticking out, and these gangly birds come flying in. The day before yesterday when I drove in on campus, I heard killdeer for the first time this season. They're a type of small, almost like a plover or a sandpiper type of bird, and they were flying around the ball field, and I was real happy. It's sort of like my old friends greeting me again every spring. So as I said, the farmhouse itself was built in 1764. They're moving this, hopefully in one piece, to its new location about 300 yards away. Not even 300 yards away, about 200 yards away. And this will be a site of a dormitory. The elm tree, the American elm tree, is going to be saved in theory. They're going to build around it, and hopefully it'll be here for a long time to come. This is an American elm tree, Ulmus americana. When I was a boy, they were very, very common. In New Jersey, my cousin lived on a street that was just lined with elm trees. And then one year, they all died. And when I say all, every single one of them lining his road dropped dead. And it was the saddest thing you've ever seen, because in the summertime, you'd go to my cousin Greg's house, and it was these huge umbrella-shaped trees lining either side of the road, and you drove through this archway of living tissue. It was really neat, and you felt like it was cooler, and it was quieter, and it was just so darn charming. And now you drive down Clifton, New Jersey, where he lives, and his streets have got, you know, some little, saplings here and there. I think they replaced them with London plane trees, which can take pollution, and they're a little bit more tolerant, but they just don't have the same stuff that this tree does. This tree is probably close to 150 years old. It gets treated every 3 years with a fungicide. It's inoculated, actually given an injection. The arborist comes and drills probably 40 or 50 holes at the base of the tree, and if you walk around it, we'll be able to see some of the where he did it last year and the year before. All of these holes here is where he drills into this tree. Elm trees are becoming not becoming extinct because of the introduction of an Asiatic fungus, which we call the Dutch elm disease, a kind of dumb name for an Asiatic fungus. What happens is it attacks the cambium layer and the first couple of layers of living cells on this tree. Most trees have a thick area of what we call sapwood, and American elm trees happen to have like a 4 or 5 cell thick area of sapwood, and the rest is more or less heartwood or parenchyma and sclerenchyma. So sclerenchyma, closed cells that don't transmit the nutrients up and down the tree. So these poor guys, there's a beetle that gets in under the bark, and it infects it with a fungus it carries on it, and the trees can die. They can show a little bit of sign of sickness in July, and by September be dead, which is very rare for a big tree like this. Normally big trees like this, they've lived for hundreds of years. It takes them 30 or 40 years to die. But these trees go boom right away, and it's a shame. I like this tree. I tell people that I met my wife under this tree. I kissed her for the first time under this tree. I got married under this tree, and someday I hope to be buried under this tree. Put my jar of ashes under this tree. That would be fine with me. I'd have no problems with it if it's still here. It'll probably be under a beer bottle, under some, you know.
We've talked about the measures that you have to take.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's got to be. Well, they did it up in front of, with the beech tree in front of Bucksbaum, Goldstein, up top.
They didn't kill that. They killed us.
Yeah. Well, they did that when they did the curbing around there, and they were warned. She's that's my goat, and what she's doing is she rubs her head underneath the rabbit's hutch, and she knocks the rabbit food out of the rabbit's bowl and then eats it. They have an expression, a farm expression, says God made all the animals, but the devil made the goat. Goats walk around all day long going, what can I mess with next? If you look behind you, some of my earliest spring flowers are up in the back. Those are the snowdrops. We also have crocuses. Some of the wild crocuses are already up. But my earliest flowering plants are down along the nature trail. So what we're going to talk about is, this is like a general nature hike. And it would behoove you to watch your step. Oh, on the rock right there is a female hairy woodpecker. And that was probably a male that was harassing her. Right now, if you notice, when you get up in the morning, if you get up before 9 a.m., which most of you I don't think do, but if you did, you'd notice that there's a whole lot more activity, a whole lot more bird song right now. A lot of the passerines are back, the songbirds are back, and they're pairing up, and they want to start families, and this is just an exciting time of year. If you're a bird watcher, or if you're a nature lover, it's a great time of year. And behind me I can hear chipping sparrows, which I haven't heard in a year. The woodpecker is back on the feeder right now. Again, that's a female. I can tell it's a female because it doesn't have the red chevron on the back of its head. And it's a handsome little bird. And then on the ground we have got chickadees and English sparrows and nuthatches and what have you. If anyone wants a free goldfish, let me know.
Are they going to get rid of the pond?
The pond is going. So I have to find homes. I've got probably, there's probably 700 in there. There's all sorts of babies in there. Yeah, there's a lot of garbage in there too. But there's tons and tons of baby goldfish in there. So,
How big are they going to get?
oh, they get big, you know.
Do they breed?
Yeah, they breed in here.
do?
Yeah, yep. Huh? No, just cold water. You know. Yeah, they get cold water. This is a Japanese tree or shrub. This is witch hazel. And witch hazel, we make the astringent that we wash our faces with. And this is an ornamental witch hazel. It's the earliest flowering plant that I have in this area. It's not indigenous, it's not native to the area, but then again, 1/4 of the stuff you look at around here is not native anyway. So, but I like it because in late January, early February, this thing starts to bloom, and it sort of says, don't worry, winter's gonna end. And this winter, I was like, you lying mother, because this thing was like blooming and it was dead winter, and I was hating it big time. I was fed up with this winter. I've had enough. Now, you can hear the chickadees, by the way. The chickadee-dee-dee. But also they have a call when they're looking for a mate. They go. Now, hopefully one of them will answer me. would have to be a righteously horny little chickadee, but usually they will, and you can see them flitting around. They both do the call, and it's like cardinals. Cardinals both sing, and it's kind of an oddity for birds both to sing. But chickadees and cardinals both are singers. I'll introduce you to my buddy. He is mean, and if he had the opportunity to grab a hold of me, he would. Again. He is mean. Winston is, he's challenged. He was raised by people, so he has no fear or respect of people. He wanted, for the first 2 or 3 years of his life, all he wanted to do is convince me to mate with him. And of course, I'm not really willing to do that. And he's not willing to take no for an answer. So instead of, he takes all of that angst and he turns it into aggression. And when I turned my back on him to look at you, he came over and he tried to get me. And he has sent me to Phelps on 2 occasions. And he won't get the opportunity to do that again. Now, it's kind of sad because my favorite owl, my barred owl, Oscar, who I've worked with for over 20 years, passed away in January. And I am just like, I'm so lost without Oscar. And Angela said something today when we were here. He said, too bad it wasn't Winston. And I hate to, I hate to say that, Winston, but he's 22 years old also. And I would probably have preferred it be him. Yes. And this is a great horned owl, and great horned owls are one of the largest. For the longest time, he was probably the apex predator in Westchester County. There wasn't anything bigger or badder than him in Westchester County until a coyote came back. He competes directly with the coyote for food sources, including raccoons, skunks, rabbits, things like that. He's very, very tough animal. Very, very tough animal. And as you can tell, he has no love for me. Okay? and it, well, he hasn't learned, at least. He's 22 years he's been, well, 20 years he's been doing this. Great horned owl call is, who's awake? Me too. Who's awake? Me too. The barred owl, who cooks for you? My talents. Okay. Oh, that one. Excuse me. There's a slot right there in the door where I shove the food, and then when I change his water, which I don't do as frequently as I do the other birds, I have to go in there like 10 men and chase him around and then flip the water over and I fill it with a hose. So he's a tough, but what am I going to do? I mean, I said yes to him when he was a youngster, and I'm not going to, I can't throw him away, and I'm not going to put him to sleep because he's a jerk. If that was the case, there'd probably be a lot less students here at Pace. Yes, I am the guy who stacks the rocks up. Yeah, that's me.
No bottles anymore.
I still stack bottles, but over here I have 2 red-tailed hawks. Both of them are amputees. The one who just opened his wing up is a male, and he's missing a wing. He broke his wing. A friend, as a matter of fact, Sue Maxim, who works for the university, found him while she was hiking with her dog, and I just assumed that it was a gunshot wound. The veterinarian x-rayed it and said, no, it wasn't a gunshot wound. It had broken its wing, probably crashing through the trees after a squirrel or something like that. And he says, but this time it was a compound fracture. He goes, but the bird had broken its wings before, and it healed. It had healed breaks in its wings. So it's a tough bird. The female is sitting with her back to us. Her name is Edison. She's almost 30 years old. She's missing 3 toes. She was burned on a transformer, and that's how she got her name, from Con Edison. A little twist. She laid an egg a couple of weeks ago. Of course, I don't have any nesting material in there for them, and I don't have it's set up for them to breed because I don't want a pen-raised red-tailed hawk because it will have all the psychological issues that our friend over there does, which is enough. Okay, watch your footing because I haven't done any work up here, and my dogs have been using this as their bathroom. Now the stream that we're walking over on this bridge, when I first started here at the university, it ran continuously, and then it went as an intermittent stream for about 7 years. It would dry up every summer, and for the last, I would say 15 years, it has flowed continuously all year long. If you're grading this stream on a scale, I don't know how the benthic biologists grade it, but this is like a 1 or a 2, meaning it's really not in very good shape. The neat thing that I find interesting here on campus, most people don't realize it, that we have mink living on campus. And in the mud along the side here, I'll often see mink tracks, and mink look like, their tracks look like little star shapes. And you see these tiny little star-shaped footprints running through the mud, and they're not probably eating anything but crayfish or something like that this far up in the stream. But down in the pond, there's plenty of bass and sunfish and things like that that the mink like to eat. So you guys don't see them because they're so darn secretive, and they're crepuscular at best. They're dawn-dusk type of animals. Even maybe going more towards nocturnal in this area because there's so much going on campus. So it's kind of neat to think that there are mink living on this campus, that we have coyote on the campus, that the different songbirds and things like that we have on campus. Now, what was that wicked storm we had, Sandy? If you look here, this is the aftermath of Sandy. Most of these trees that you see that are knocked down are the aftermath of Sandy, and they cut them down and or cut them because they were afraid they might spontaneously stand up like that one did. That tree over there with the birdhouse on it was flat on the ground, and they cut the top of it off, and that's some of the lumber that's still over here. And the next day, it stood up all on its own. And I was like, well, how did you do that? But I guess there was enough pressure in the roots and there was enough memory that it just stood up on its own. So I put the birdhouse, I put a ladder up against it, and I put the owl box up on the tree there in hopes to attract a screech owl or a kestrel or something like that. That's all new growth. That's all new sucker growth since Sandy. That is a Norway maple, Acer platanoides. Yeah.
I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah. Into the pond. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And it starts out on the far side of the dorm. On the other side, there's a swamp over there, and then it runs underground. Yeah, you know. Now they're gonna daylight this when they do the reconstruction and they redo the pond. They're gonna daylight that section of the stream that runs through the pasture.
What does that mean?
Daylight means it's right now it's in pipe. It's piped and underground. So they're gonna bring it up, which I think is nice. And from what I saw of the presentation of what they're going to do with the pond, I'm really impressed with what they're going to be doing with the pond to really rejuvenate it. It's in a bad state right now, so they're going to do good things if they follow through with what they say they're going to do.
And what about the area? Are they going to build? How close are they going to build the residence halls to this area?
I'm not absolute. I know there's going to be a resident hall up here, and and there's going to be a resident hall over there, and then the one where the big dirt pile is now. There's going to be a residence hall over there. I don't know who that is, but he can hang if he wants to come.
Hi.
Yeah, we did. We already passed some skunk cabbage, and I was here. Yeah, here's some pretty stuff. This skunk cabbage is one of my favorite plants, and every year I know you guys get this on the tape that skunk cabbage is a warm-blooded plant. Now that sounds stupid, but it truly is. It's not blooded, of course. It doesn't have blood like we do, but it can change its environment. It creates a little microhabitat. It grows so ferociously early in the season that its cell division actually causes heat. It generates heat. It's sort of like honeybees, which are cold-blooded animals, by their vibration can generate heat. Well, these plants generate heat. This time of year, there are very few insects out to pollinate, to pollinate the plants. We'll just shut that right off. Sorry about that. But this is the flower. If you look inside here, this yellow circular piece is the flower. The term is spadix or something, S-P-A-I-D-I-X or something like that, is the type of shaped flower. Jack in the pulpits and this have it in common. But because there are no bees active in these cool temperatures, in order to get pollination, this thing lets off a smell. And if you came down here and smelled it, it smells a little bit like rotting flesh. One of the few animals that are up and moving in very cold temperatures are these beetles, like dromestid beetles that eat flesh. And these give off that odor. Its Latin name is Foetides, meaning stinky plant, basically. Smells like death. A neat thing I noticed when we were walking across the lawn, I saw my first worm castings of the season. The earthworms have moved soil to the top, and you can see, it looks like it's not really poop, but I guess it's a mixture. But the earthworms move that soil, and it's really neat because I think I read in an Edward Wade Teal book that in an acre of lawn, I don't remember the amount of hundreds of tons of soil are moved every year to the surface by earthworms. You don't think of an earthworm of having the ability, but a lot of earthworms can do a lot of soil movement. So it's kind of neat. In the same chapter of his book, he talks about over an acre of sky in Manhattan at any time, there's 20,000 pounds of insects, which I found, well, who figures this stuff out? Scientists are, kind of interesting people. Some of the earliest green plants that we're going to have in this area, right now this is a mustard, a garlic mustard, which is one of the top 10 invasive plants in Westchester County. It's an edible plant, and like most edible wild plants, it tastes awful. I've tried them. This is euonymus, winged euonymus. Again, it's an invasive species. Burning bush is the common name. Every mall parking lot that you've ever been in your life has burning bush, and in September it turns that scarlet red color. It's easy to grow. It can take salt and pollution and soil compaction, and the birds just love it. They eat their seeds, and the seeds are always, here's one last seed left on it, right there, this little red thing. This is, they're always like 3-lobed seeds. The winged euonymus, it's called winged because of these corky appendages that stick out of the green stem. One of the ways to identify it is green stem and corky appendages equals winged euonymus, airplane wing. And I always remember things by little mental games. So I would say, you want to mess around. That's the way I remember you want to mess. If you look on the ground as you're walking up here, and it's a good thing to look on the ground because my dogs have often left little presents here, you're going to notice that there are thousands and thousands of maple seeds. These maple seeds, these maple seeds are from the Norway maple tree. I have one sugar maple tree on this woodlot. It is now dead. That's right behind us. If you look behind you, you'll see that taller tree that the top is, there might be a leaf or two on it this year, but for all intents and purposes, she's a goner. there are tons and tons of Norway maple trees, and I believe the Norway maple tree outcompetes the sugar maples in every way, shape, and form. It produces leaves quicker, more dense shade, grows faster, outproduces it in seeds. So the sugar maple in this area for the next 200 or 300 or 400 years is in trouble, in deep trouble. It can't outcompete what it has here. I'm looking at the back behind us. There's a yellow birch that's snapped and dead, but I see a nice hole in the top of it that could very well house a screech owl or flying squirrels or something like that. Birch trees, their bark will keep the tree up for quite a long time, years and years and years after the tree has died. The bark is so resilient and resistant to water penetration and insect penetration that they stay up for a long time. They make good wildlife trees. All of the rocks that we pass by have lichens growing on them, different types of lichens. I don't know the names of them. The lichens are these colored patches. There's black and gray and green. Lichens are one of the first plant forms that will colonize on a terrestrial rocky surface.
This is where we came.
This is it helps break down. It's a chemical weathering of the rocks, turning it into soil. And lichens are a symbiotic relationship. It's an algae and a bacteria living together, and they work together, and they sort of like my dogs work for me, and I feed my dogs. It's symbiosis. If you have a cat, your cat does nothing for you, and you feed your cat, huh? It's a parasite. I shouldn't say that. I like cats. I shouldn't really say that. But. You know, it's gonna go boom, and as long as it doesn't happen when I'm directly under it, I'm not. You know, I don't really. There's not much. I guess what happened when the university came here and they were doing the work, they came up this far and they said, "Oh, nobody in their right mind walks this far anyway." So, you know, they left it. It was less expensive than knocking down 3 trees. But I've got a feeling all of this is going to be changed dramatically in the next year or two.
There are no plans for this.
There aren't?
I don't think there are any plans for this.
Okay.
It's the nature trail.
Oh, the nature trail is gone. Yeah, it is gone.
Yeah.
It's not going to be affected?
That was just the other day.
Oh,
That was, yeah.
No, but he's
well, maybe that's true. Well, you know, maybe it's not going to be affected.
I don't think there's anything as part of the
But
plan.
if they're putting a dorm up there
No, they
and a
aren't.
dorm there,
Not for another 10 years.
is that what it
Oh,
is?
yeah, it's way out
They've
there.
got the 3 that are going to be down here,
Yeah,
and that's it.
That's it.
And then they've got one that they want to put. Yeah, this is a wineberry, like a black raspberry.
Yeah.
And one of the ways you can tell it, if you look at it, it's got this smoky cast to it that you can wipe off, and that's the difference. A raspberry has there you go. That's prime raspberry right there. Raspberry is very, very prickly all the way through, and this has like sporadic thorns and this kind of smoky coloring over the kind of pretty purple stem. And I get my colors mixed up. I'm not so good with colors. Lavender or purple? Okay, I'll give you that. The number 1 most invasive species in Westchester County is this bamboo. And all through here is this monoculture of Japanese bamboo, which is not truly a bamboo. It's a broadleaf plant, but this is even more invasive than the true bamboo. All you need to do is break a stem of it and throw it in somebody's yard, and you start a culture of it. It is, nothing propagates better than this stuff.
Does it propagate by rhizomes?
Rhizomes,
Anything.
more seeds than you've ever seen in your whole life, and you just bury a piece of it, and it's like what is that Hawaiian, the Thai wood or whatever that is, that the good luck plant that you get.
At the dollar store.
Yeah, at the dollar store, you bury a stick of it and like 10 of them grow. That's what this stuff does. It's
The bamboo I have, it just keeps popping up. I got the mother plant.
yeah. Now these vines here in this tree is another invasive plant. This is a honeysuckle. This is Japanese honeysuckle. It's growing up on a black walnut. The tree back here is also a black walnut. A straight section of that black walnut, about 16 feet long and about this fat around, will fetch you about $4,000 as lumber. It's just a wonderful, beautiful, dark wooded lumber. Very, very hard. I've made a couple of my falconry perches at home out of black walnut, and I spent hours and hours and hours sanding it, and it took forever to get it as smooth as I wanted, you know, the glass-like finish I wanted.